How are you guys doing? It is Monday, July 27th, 2021 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to get into all the baseball that happened yesterday, all the Sunday baseball that happened early on. And I'm just going to transition into the WNBA, but mostly I'm going to focus on what happened with baseball because there were so many games going on. Focus on the elite players that I've made profiles on, the elite performances, and just the elite players. I mean, you got to look out for, and then I'd recommend just checking out the highlights especially. So without further ado, we're going to go first to Washington, where the Nationals hosted the New York Yankees in a pretty low-scoring matchup, pretty low-scoring affair. Patrick Corbin would start for the Washington Nationals. You'd only allow one earned run in 6.1 innings pitched. But as soon as he went out, the Yankees would end up turning up the score, and they would crank up the heat. They would score 3 runs in their last 3 innings, of course, to take the 3-2 lead late and eventually win the game. For the New York Yankees, elite shortstop Gleyber Torres would finish 3 for 4 with a run and 2 RBIs, as he was the only person to get a hit, or he was the only person to get a hit off Patrick Corbin. He only allowed 2 hits, and they were both to Gleyber Torres. The only run he gave up was a home run to Gleyber Torres, and Gleyber Torres would still get another hit after that. Elite designated hitter Giancarlo Stanton would finish with a walk, and he finished 0 for 3. All 3 of the times he was out, he was struck out, so that's not fun. And then, of course, right fielder Aaron Judge would finish 0 for 4 with a strikeout. And now the Yankees are tied with the Tampa Bay Rays with the division lead at 2-1. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Rays, moving out to Tampa Bay, they hosted the Blue Jays in a 10-inning affair that eventually ended up in the Tampa Bay Rays winning 2-1 off of a wild series of events that happened in the extra innings in order to get there, even right before to get there. Basically, the Toronto Blue Jays put on 4 runs in the 6th to go up 4-2, but then eventually the Tampa Bay Rays would bring it back, and then eventually on a wild play, Brandon Lowe would make a crazy hustle play, reach first, which would allow the game-tying run to cross the plate. I would argue that was the play of the game, but it wasn't, because center fielder Kevin Kiermaier would end up getting a 2-run double or 2-run triple in the bottom of the 10th that would eventually seal the game for the Tampa Bay Rays, and that would be my vote for the play of the day, which of course goes to Kevin Kiermaier, the center fielder. But in addition to that, Vlad Guerrero Jr., the elite first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, would finish 2 for 5 with a strikeout. And following this, the Tampa Bay Rays are tied with the New York Yankees for a 2-1 lead in the National League, or in the American League East. And moving on to Boston, the Orioles were able to come out with a 7-4 win against the Red Sox, and they now tie the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees with a 2-1 record, leading the American League East after scoring 6 of their 7 runs in the first 4 innings. But the Red Sox were able to get a web gem from Jackie Bradley Jr., but unfortunately it resulted in them now having a 1-2 record, tied currently with the Toronto Blue Jays for the worst record in the American League East. And then moving on to the National League East, the Phillies hosted the Marlins for Game 3, and sadly for them, the Marlins were able to put 11 runs on the Phillies in total, only letting Vincent Velasquez pitch only 3 innings while scoring 4 runs on him in those first 3 innings. Bryce Harper would get his first home run of the year as he finished 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs for the Philadelphia Phillies, as it was a 3-run home run. Marlins shortstop Miguel Rojas would finish 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. He was a double shy of the cycle, but the Marlins still did come out with a win anyway, and now they are currently tied with the Atlanta Braves for the best record in the National League East. And speaking of the Braves were playing in Chase Stadium yesterday as they played against the New York Mets. And they would continue to put on 14 runs in the first 7 innings. They were scoreless in the last 2. They scored 14 runs against the side that started out a former Cy Young winner, Rick Porcello, who only pitched 2 innings but gave up 6 runs to the Atlanta Braves. Going down the line, elite right fielder Ronald Acuna Jr. would finish 1 for 6 with 2 runs. Ozzie Albies would finish 3 for 6 with 3 runs, 3 RBIs. He did have a home run on the day, and he did have 2 doubles. Freddie Freeman finished 1 for 3 with 3 runs, and he also finished with 2 walks. Marcell Ozuna would finish 2 for 4 with yet another home run for the Braves. And again, Austin Riley would have a moonshot of a home run. He finished 1 for 4, but he had an amazing hitting game. Braves shortstop Dansby Swanson would finish 3 for 5 with 2 runs and 5 RBIs for the day. and William Contreras, their new rookie catcher, would finish 3 for 5 in his appearances. For the Mets, Pete Alonso would finish 0 for 3 with a strikeout. And nothing was really working for the Mets. And following that, the Braves now hold a lead with the Miami Marlins for the National League East. Now moving to the AL Central, the Cleveland Indians would host the Kansas City Royals for the third time, as the Cleveland Indians would squeak out a 9-2 win against the Kansas City Royals. Francisco Lindor, elite shortstop, would finish 1 for 5 on the day, and Jose Ramirez would finish 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and 4 runs on the day. 2 of his runs came off home runs. I mean, he was definitely having himself a day, but at the end of the day, they just proved too strong for the Royals. Carlos Carrasco came back and only allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched, following his recent scares with what's been going on with his health. But the Cleveland Indians were able to come out with this win, and they are now 2-1. And the Kansas City Royals fall to 1-2 in the AL Central, just like the Chicago White Sox, who also played the Minnesota Timberwolves, hosted them, and then they lost. They also allowed 14 runs. They gave up 9 runs in the very first 2 innings. The Minnesota Twins were really kind of putting it on. Their designated hitter, Nelson Cruz, would be the hitter of the day. He would finish 4 for 5 with 4 runs and 7 RBIs. He finished with 2 home runs. He finished with 2 doubles. I mean, not much else you can ask from a 40-year-old designated hitter, as he led La Bomba squad, as he was able to register half of their RBIs, as they were able to score 14 runs against the 2 that the White Sox could put up. Like I said, the Twins are now 2-1. They now are tied for the lead with the Cleveland Indians, but they are also in the lead tied with the Detroit Tigers, who just finished off Cincinnati in the 9th inning. Especially off Spencer Turnbull's pitching, as he only allowed 1 run in his 5 innings of pitching. But the pitching performance of the day would go to Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds. Even in a losing performance, he still only allowed 1 run in 2 hits, 6.1 innings pitched. He finished with 13 strikeouts on the day. But eventually it would end up being CJ Cron that hit the 2-run home run that gave the Detroit Tigers the lead and eventually the win over the Cincinnati Reds. And now the Tigers are sitting on a 2-1 record atop the AL Central, tied with 2 other teams. And now the Reds are now 1-2 in the NL Central, which is not looking good. But they're in the same company as a team that won last night, the Pittsburgh Pirates, after dropping the first 2 to the Cardinals. The Pirates are now 1-2 following a 5-1 win against the St. Louis Cardinals. Josh Bell would come through with a big run late, but Paul Goldschmidt for the Cardinals would end up 1-4 with a strikeout for the day. And with this loss, the Cardinals are now tied with the Chicago Cubs for the lead over the NL Central. And the Cubs are now coming off of a 9-1 home victory against the Milwaukee Brewers, in which they scored 4 runs in their last couple of innings. Chris Bryant would finish the game 1 for 5. Anthony Rizzo would finish with a solo home run. And the Cubs really kind of put it on. Chatwood was only able to allow 3 hits and strike out 8 in the 6 innings that he pitched. And for the Brewers, Christian Yelich he still finished 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And now the Brewers are sitting with the Reds and the Pirates now behind the Cubs and the Cardinals, currently in the NL Central. Now, as we motion out to the West, the Houston Astros would lose their first game of the season with Zach Greinke starting at pitching. He would allow 3 runs in 3.1 innings as the Mariners were able to jump out to an early lead. They did hold a lead for a bit, but the Astros were able to come back in the 4th, kind of regain the lead in the 4th, but the Mariners were able to score 3 runs in the 8th, which would eventually give them the lead and the win over the Houston Astros. Jose Altuve would finish 0 for 3, but he had 2 walks, and he eventually finished with 2 runs. Alex Bregman would finish 1 for 4 with a home run. And with this loss, they're tied with the Oakland A's for the lead in the AL West. And the A's are coming off of a 6-4 win against the Los Angeles Angels. Mike Trout finished 2 for 3 with a run and 4 RBIs as he hit his first home run of the season. Additionally, Shohei Ohtani would have his pitching debut, but he wouldn't even record an out. He would allow 5 runs and 3 hits off 3 walks as he was responsible for the play, but he would be subbed out before he was able to be before he was able to record an out, and I guess he's going to have to wait for his official debut to come in. Matt Chapman would finish 0 for 3, but he walked and he still finished with a run. And with this, the Angels are now 1-2, and the Oakland A's, like I said, are now tied with the Houston Astros for the lead in the AL West. But like I said, the Angels alongside the Mariners are now 1-2 in the AL West alongside the Texas Rangers, who just lost to the Colorado Rockies. And now they sit at 1-2 after losing 5-2 to the Rockies. Trevor Story was able to hit 2 home runs. He finished 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs. Nolan Arenado, the Rockies' elite third baseman, finished 1 for 4. Finished with a couple of really, really good defensive plays. In the end, like I said, Colorado was too much for the Rangers. Corey Kluber did start this game for the Rangers. He only pitched 1 inning, but it seems as though he was kind of dealing with something. But on the other end, Kyle Freeland was only able to allow 2 earned runs in the 6 innings pitched, and the Rockies were able to give him that. They were able to use that support and score enough to give the Rockies the win. And so right now they're currently sitting at 2-1, which is now where they're sitting in the lead alongside the San Diego Padres, who most recently lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now the Padres are 2-1 after winning their first 2. The Diamondbacks would score all 4 of their runs in the 8th and 9th inning, as they eventually did what it took to come back. Ketel Marte would finish 2 for 3. And they'd have big hits down the way. And for the Padres, Fernando Tatis would finish 1 for 4. Machado 0 for 3. Eric Hosmer would hit his first home run of the season. But the Padres, what they did, it wasn't enough, but they still hold the lead over in the National League West, currently above the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers, as the San Francisco Giants evened out the series and now both teams are 2-2 following a 3-1 win over the Dodgers, where they, like I said, they kept the Dodgers to only scoring 1 run in the game. Drew Smyly was the only one to allow that run, and their bullpen was able to keep the Dodgers completely scoreless for the rest of the game. Mookie Betts would finish 1 for 4 with a run. Cody Bellinger would finish 2 for 4. He was the one that brought Mookie Betts home. He had the only RBI of the game. But like I said, the Dodgers and the Giants, following this amazing series, are now sitting at 2-2. So that's what's going on for today. And before I get on to the standings, I want to mention, just restate, the hitter of the day was, once again, Nelson Cruz, who finished with 4 hits, 7 RBIs off his 2 doubles and 2 home runs to help the Twins score 14 runs and win against the White Sox. He drove in 7 of those runs, and 2 of them were himself. And then additionally, the best pitcher would be Trevor Bauer, who, even though the Reds lost, he was only able to allow 1 run and struck out 13 batters in 6.1 innings. That's 19 outs, and 13 of them were strikeouts. I think that's still that's a very elite pitching performance. And then the play of the game last night, I'd have to say, goes to Kevin Kiermaier to help with the 2-run triple in the 10th to eventually help get the win and secure it for the Tampa Bay Rays while they were down 1 to the Toronto Blue Jays to help give them the series win. So with that said, I'm going to transition into what the standings are looking like for these teams, even though I just kind of said it. Looking out into the American League, the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Yankees, and the Tampa Bay Rays are all tied for the American League East lead with a game lead over the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. In the AL Central, the Cleveland Indians, the Detroit Tigers, and the Minnesota Twins all hold a 1-game lead over the White Sox and the Kansas City Royals at 1-2. In the AL West, the Astros and the Oakland A's are 2-1, leading their division, as the Los Angeles Angels, the Seattle Mariners, and the Texas Rangers are all 1-2. Moving to the National League, the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins now are leading the National League East with 2-1 records. And then the Mets, Phillies, and Washington Nationals are all 1-2, and they are all 1 game behind these 2 teams. Same dynamic in the Central, as the Cubs and Cardinals are both 2-1, leading their divisions, as the Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, and Pittsburgh Pirates are each a game behind and have to make up that space, make up that ground. In the National League West, the Colorado Rockies and the San Diego Padres are both tied for the National League West lead. The Dodgers and the Giants are second. They're both half a game back. They're both 2-2. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are last in the NL West, a complete game behind the Rockies and the Padres, and they're half a game behind the Dodgers and the Giants. And that's baseball for today. And then moving to the WNBA, a couple of short games. First off, the Minnesota Lynx took care of the Connecticut Sun, as Sylvia Fowles was able to put in 17 points and 18 rebounds to help them to the win. Additionally, the Chicago Sky would only beat the Las Vegas Aces by 2, as Gabby Williams put in 14 points, but Andrew McCoughtry put in 25 points for Las Vegas, but it wasn't enough, and they're now 0-1. Additionally, the Atlanta Dream were able to secure the win over the Dallas Wings, 105-95, as Monique Billings finished with 30 points and 13 rebounds. An amazing performance as we get into the WNBA. But that was mainly what was going on yesterday. And additionally, going on to the Premier League, Manchester United and Chelsea were able to secure the wins in the Premier League that would be able to help get them across and help them qualify for Champions League as the Premier League finished up yesterday as they had their finale. Additionally, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would score 2 goals for Arsenal as they beat Watford. Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne would score 2 goals as Manchester City beat Norwich City, and he would also finish as the only player to record 20 plus assists because he had 20 assists this year for Manchester City. He's the only player to do it for 2 separate leagues. I said it in his profile. He was able to do it with Wolfsburg in 2014-15 in that season, but now he's able to do it for Manchester City, even though he missed a couple games this season. I'm really proud that he was able to do it. Cristiano Ronaldo was able to score for Juventus as Juventus was able to secure the last win over Sampdoria. Not much else to say, but I'm going to get back into soccer once Champions League starts back up. But that was what was going on yesterday. Just to give you a little insight into what's going on today, especially looking into the matchups. In baseball, the Diamondbacks are going to play the Padres on ESPN at 4 o'clock on ESPN. So I'm just going to check that one out. The Atlanta Braves start their series against the Tampa Bay Rays. Mike Fulton Evans versus Tyler Glasnow. I'm going to watch it because I'm a Braves fan. I'll admit it straight up. And then later on tonight, one game I'm definitely going to try to look out for. Another game that's on ESPN. The New York Mets are playing the Boston Red Sox. It'll be Michael Wacha versus Josh Osik. Not any crazy good matchups today, but at the end of the day, good baseball is good baseball. So it's always just good to just check out baseball while it's around. And of course, there's going to be WNBA on tonight as the NBA season inches ever closer. And I'm also going to try to get a chance to check out the NFL's Top 100 if I get a chance, and I'll bring it up on Wednesday. But without further ado, I really appreciate you for giving me the time and opportunity just to listen to this. I wish everyone the best. I thank you all for hearing my piece. Peace out. Like I said, I wish you guys the best. And I hope you guys enjoy your Monday baseball.